Today on the podcast, you'll hear my interview with Sharon Ruchman, whose love of the creation of music is absolutely contagious, and who came to her current level of productivity and creativity and energy so much later in life than we think we are allowed to do. It was inspiring to hear her story. Sharon actually appeared on the podcast in 2021 to talk with my colleague Tracy about her amazing transition from, person living her life to prolific composer and musician, and to talk about her book that she wrote about her great uncle Rudy. Today, we had the most lovely conversation about what it is to be able to make a transition like this, what it is to rediscover your passion and creativity later in life, and how others could perhaps do the same thing. Our conversation touched on the economics of being a musician and being a composer, how to discover your own sense of genre and your own voice, and how to be open to the experiences that seem to be knocking at your door. I know you will love this conversation. Sharon Ruchman, welcome to Crushing Classical.
Thank you very much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
I am delighted to speak with you because it fascinates me, the journey that people take to creativity and to productivity and to their own musical careers. You were on this podcast 5 years ago talking with, my predecessor, Tracy Friedlander, about your sort of rediscovery of your own compositional skills in definitely later in life.
Later in life, much later in life. It was because of a number of things that were occurring for me. I had some toxic family life that interfered. And then there was a family that I raised. And so I couldn't get to the things that I wanted to at that point. And there was an ADD issue that I discovered later on that prevented me from really sitting still and concentrating on the music that I wanted to produce. And I think it was one of those crazy things, actually, that one day I was taking cello lessons at the time. And one day my cello teacher said to me, Sharon, how about you writing a duet for cello and piano? And that opened up everything for me, besides also experiencing other things with music coming to me from my great uncle, but there was also other factors. And one was this cello teacher. And I wrote this piece in about a day or two. And it was a 2-movement piece, classically based. And I submitted it to a competition and got in. And I said, wait a minute, something's going on here. And after that, it opened me up. And every day I was sitting at the piano and realizing that there was this well of music waiting to come out. And within 5 years, I had produced 5 CDs of classical music of all different combinations of instrumentation. I was hiring people and recording, and it was nonstop. And then there was a break of a few years. And then, as I said, this great uncle's story came to me, which we had discussed earlier. Mm-hmm. And I got very inspired by that. And that was the time of COVID. And during COVID, I found myself also saying, I'm taking advantage of this period where I can sit still and I can just create. And what happened was, before I knew it, I was writing every day, literally for 3 years. And all of this music came, and it was music that I never even connected with before. Maybe it was somewhere inside, but I never understood how this was happening to me. It was such a mystery. And I thought, I'm going to take advantage of it, but it was not anything that was really conscious. I was sitting down at a keyboard connected to my computer, and things were just happening. And they were happening with different instrumentation and different combinations. So it was saxophone with strings, and it was flute with acoustic bass, and it just went on and on. And before I knew it, I had all of this repertoire that I then started to share with, I started to find people who could play it and record it. And then I started to produce these albums and thought we now have an opportunity in this time of our life to take advantage of Spotify and to get the music out. So that was really the process, but I'm still writing and all of that. But I think for me, it wasn't really a career, so to speak, where I was needing to have, when I say a full-time job. It was really about taking this time in my life as a pleasurable thing and something where I said, I want to have music that is people hear and that resonates with them, something that uh, can really interest them. And it was music that was kind of unique in the way that it was out of the box. It wasn't the typical music that we hear. Classical is primarily, but it's really the other stuff. It's stuff like, as I said, third stream, which is classical with jazz. And I was producing this and I was getting great feedback from the players. But when I put it up now on Spotify, and I'll be honest, the people who listen, so the listeners, sometimes it swings way down and then it swings way up. And I think it's because it's something very different. It's something unique that people aren't used to hearing. And once you get out of the mainstream, people are a little leery about trying something new. And I am such a believer in it because for me, music is about emotional stuff. It's about tying yourself in with something that resonates with you or you feel something. To me, it's also about uh, having an image. So music doesn't need words. It doesn't always need lyrics. It's about creating something that gives you an image, like impressionistic music, like Debussy. And I've done that kind of music. Or it's about, as I said, emotion or having something melodic that really stays with you. And I think there's all different things that music can do for you. And I think, again, it's not necessarily about having words with it, because it should connote, it should resonate, it should give you something, or how do I say, it should captivate you in a way that it either touches the soul or it does something to your mind in a positive way. But that's what music should do. And I'm trying to incorporate that in my composing. So I think there's many things that I feel strongly about music, and this has been with me forever. But for now, this is about getting a message across to people. And I know that people may not be ready for it, but I think ultimately I would love to have people really say, okay, I can connect with this. And I'm in it for the long haul because this could take a long time, but I believe in it. And I think that people who hear it believe in it. And I do recitals at my house because it's such an intimate setting and
Yeah.
people are very um, excited about it because it's almost like the old days of chamber music, where people can go and they can hear what you're doing and they really feel that they're included in something special. So that's what I have been doing. I started out with venues with my group, and my venues were it's a little tricky now with venues because venues are about uh, promo, and a lot of venues don't do it. And then it's all also about getting venues that can pay the players. And
Of
players are
course.
really not getting paid very well. And I think it's a struggle for musicians, you know?
Great. Let me let I gotta break in because oh my gosh, like you're a fire hose of magical thinking here. It's fantastic. So here's what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong. This like explosion of music coming out of you, starting really like just before the pandemic and during the pandemic and post pandemic,
Yes.
because first of all, I just want to name, like, because you are finally at a place in your life where you have time, where you
Yeah.
are not like actively raising a family, you are not wrangling all of the people around you anymore. You are not like involved in, I actually don't know this, but I'm going to assume you are not involved in a full-time 9 to 5 show up and like punch the clock for the man kind of
No,
situation. You
no.
have the time and the space and like clearly the resources to be able to make this
Yes.
creativity happen. And
Yes.
that is magical. Like I know I have met people of approximately your age who are not like flooding Spotify with 12 new albums in 5 years,
Right. Right.
right? So
Right.
it's an astounding amount of productivity and like pent up musicianship
Right.
that like gets to come out into the world. And so like what a privilege,
It
and
is a
thank
privilege.
you
I mean,
for
well, it's a fortune. I feel very fortunate to be able to have that now in my life
yeah.
because you're right. A lot of people don't engage. They feel I'm a certain age, I'm done. I want to hang out, play golf, read, whatever it is. And for me, this is the most productive time in my life. No one can really, choose when you have that happen.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm trying to take advantage of that and saying I'm going all out. I'm going to do it. I love it, and I haven't been able to do it previously, but
Yeah.
now I'm going to take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And of course, the talent that you're finding in yourself and the flow and the productivity and the music making, like it was inside you when you were, 35 years old. It was inside you when you were 42. It's just like you hadn't found the way to get it out because of the demands of an actual life.
Right, right. That is true.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and so like I really want to name these things because I speak to so many people who are like, well, I would love to be more creative, but like, when am I going to have time for that? I'm like, well, maybe when you're 72. I don't know how
Right.
old you are actually, but
Right.
but maybe don't let's not give up on the dream because
Right.
it can be possible. So that's one of the
Right.
first things that I really wanted to grab onto in your story. It's
Yes, yes. And honestly, as I said before, none of us can really predict when we have those opportunities.
yeah,
We just never know how what's going to happen in life to give us those moments. But for me, I realized something that all those years that I wasn't writing, and by the way, I have a picture of myself sitting down at the piano when I was 3 years old and writing my first melody. And I still have that with me. So basically, I'm saying that I had to put on hold, and it was really very frustrating for me because I felt there was this stuff inside and I couldn't access it.
yeah,
And now I'm feeling that all of this stuff just kept sitting and sitting. And finally, I found a way to release it. And I think that was the kind of shock in a way of seeing what was in front of what was happening. And it just was extraordinary because I guess it's like anybody doing anything creative or whatever, where they find that these ideas are coming, but they really can't figure out how this is happening. It's just such a surprise. And I have to say, every once in a while, when I write something, I take a moment out and I say, what? How did that happen? Or what was that about? And I'm kind of I'm just stunned by the whole thing, the whole process.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I've heard about of fiction authors talking about how like their characters suddenly do things that they weren't expecting or that they hadn't scripted in their mind,
Right,
because the work takes on a life of its own.
right,
And
right,
in a way, that's the flow state also, right? That's the
right.
when the magic just happens. So
Yeah.
cool, very very beautiful. Now, I also wanted to pull on these threads. You had talked about like the distribution of your music and the fact that, 21st century life makes it possible to just put the thing out there and get it shared.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and you talked about Spotify, you talked about getting venues for your group to perform in, and then doing like in-house concerts and chamber music performances, because you're
Yes.
exactly right. Musicians need to get paid. And I think Spotify is notorious for not
They do.
paying much of anything.
And Spotify doesn't pay. They pay a half a
Right,
penny for stream. So
right,
that's
right.
kind of, so I've decided that I am certainly supportive of the musicians that were part of my group. I don't see them often, but I do feel a responsibility in a way
Yeah.
to hire them. So if I need recording, which I'm still writing now for a violinist that I just discovered that I've just written duets for, and she's wonderful. And
Hmm.
so I'm hiring her for the next, I always try to be like a year ahead of on Spotify. Um, and I am feeling very, as I said, responsible. I feel very connected with the musicians that I know. They're good people, and every musician struggle. So
Yeah.
when I can, I ask them to play for the recital, or I ask them to record for me. And those are the things that I can do, for on my own. And then, of course, if there's any venue or anything like that, I do include them if I can. So those are
Hmm.
the things that I can personally do. But I think it's just a tough road out there for
It is
musicians.
like, it is making a living as a composer is a
Right.
challenging thing, right? Because you can, maybe you get, I've spoken with a number of composers, but this is not like exactly what you're doing. Some of the things that people do are they seek commissions from big ensembles, they create music that then they sell as sheet music, or they sell, like, there are a lot of different income streams you can sort of tap into, but I'm not hearing you describe those. The thing that you're doing is like making music that happens in real time in the world.
Right, right. It's true. I mean, and people teach, and I did
Mhm.
that a long time ago. But I don't think I mentioned that with that. It was about over 5 years ago, now 7 years ago, when I acquired my great uncle's viola. It was his first instrument before he started the violin, and I continued on with viola lessons. And with that, I started to write viola duets because I thought it would be nice to do with my teacher. I had a volume of viola duets. And then on top of that, I was writing second parts for etudes. So this was all going on at the same time that I was doing these albums. And I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
I felt like it was running away with me or running away from me. I couldn't tell. But there was, as I said, and I think this is what happens with people, especially creative people, that things start accumulating, all of those ideas. And after a while, it sits there, but unless it gets released, it becomes difficult uh, to work with that. And you have to eventually get it out and express yourself. And those are the things that creative people deal with. So
Hmm.
that's what I think. So again, it just took off for me, and I really didn't. It was just coming, and I was just trying to catch a breath in between. That's what was happening. So now things
Yeah.
have slowed down a little bit, but I'm still writing, but not at the pace that I was when I first started this.
Yeah, but it makes sense. Like, all creativity comes in spurts and surges like that, and you follow a
Right.
passion project until suddenly you find that you're no longer passionate about that particular project, and then
Right.
you wait for
Right.
something else to spark.
Right.
But like, a thing that I'm noticing in this conversation is, like, because you have a group which you were the driving force of creating, because they're playing
Yes.
your music and like the music that is coming out of your heart, and you are finding ways to pay those people, to like
Right.
pay them to record for you, to pay them to show up for recitals, to get them booked into venues where like there is money to be made. And in this way, a thing that delights me actually is that
Thank
you're
you.
in a way creating your own little micro economy
Right.
for these particular specific musicians. And as a I'm going to take a tangent here, right? So as a business owner myself, right, I run group programs for oboists, and from time to time, I hire guest experts to come in and like work with them and teach them, guest clinicians, and of course I pay them, and they're simultaneously, I have a reed making business and I outsource some of the cane processing and reed winding to other oboists across the country, and I get to pay them. And sometimes when I'm looking at my numbers, I think things like, ugh, I wish I didn't have to have like quite such an expense in subcontractors. And sometimes when I look at the numbers, I'm like, look at how much money I am able to like move around the musical community and how
Yes.
many people I'm able to, I'm not going to say support because it's not that kind of money, but
Right.
how many people I'm able to employ and help to add to their income streams and help to keep them doing the things that they love
Right.
and that they are expert at. And that just suddenly felt very resonant to me with what you're describing. The creativity is all coming out of you, and it's clearly giving you so much joy.
Yes.
And there becomes this beautiful synergy
Yes. Yes.
with the musicians
Yes.
that you get to work with and that you get to uh, help support.
Yes, you're absolutely right because we have to support other musicians, number one. But it's also about sharing the music, sharing with other people
Of
that
course.
you love playing with. So it's all a good thing. It's all a positive thing.
Yeah.
And so we have this little world of mine right now. But at the same time, I also have the opportunity to share my music with the rest of the world, whoever listens to it. And I hope that they get some joy from that because that's really my intent to, have people hear it and say, wow, this is something that touches me or something that I can remember or something that captivates me or whatever it is. And that to me has real meaning and real purpose. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And for every performer, I think there is that connection to an audience that is actually live in the room, and then an audience that is at a remove, beyond the Spotify algorithm.
right.
But you're spreading that feeling, that quality that you are creating is getting shared out. I guess I have another question in here, which may or may
Sure.
not turn out to be relevant or interesting. But the people who are in your group, you talk about your music as third stream, so a combination of classical and jazz. Is there improvisation built into it, or like what are some of the magical things that your colleagues, your musical colleagues, bring to the table?
Yes, that's a great question. So this is something that has been very fascinating for me because, say, for instance, the sax player, he fills in here and there. We've basically been sticking to the music honestly, but we've also uh, you know, done some improv, not to great lengths, but some improv in our playing, in our performing. Um, what happened was I had the acoustic bass player say to me, Sharon, I think you ought to take some jazz lessons, take some improv, because I did some jazz classes when I was at Yale School of Music, even though I was a voice major then, but I actually was very interested in composing then, of course. So, in any event, I did that. And for some reason, I did get something out of it, but not to the extent that I really wanted. So I had a local guy teaching me, and then I kind of gave up on it for a while, and then we weren't performing. So we can always bring that back again, but the group is really great that way. about just going along with everything. And I guess if we came to a place where we thought we really need something, for instance, if I were some jazz club took me, because I'm really on the line there, I'm not quite a jazz
Yeah.
composer. We would investigate that more and probably do more improvising. But I think that's a great question because it's something that has come up from time to
Mhm.
time.
Sure, sure. Thank you for answering that. And I suppose even more specific to a classical realm, it is possible with today's technology to create all of the music you want just in the box that is in front of you and a keyboard or two, and record it and sample it and like make the magic happen. But that's not what you're doing. Or you certainly maybe are doing that, but you're bringing this to live, living musicians.
Right, right.
Why is
So
that important to you?
yes, and just to say that I work with the Finale program, so
Yeah,
that offers me now. Finale is kind of uh, closed their company, but they're still
yeah,
allowing us to use it. But
yeah.
I've been using it for forever, and so it's an incredible. That was another incredible kind of invention, so to speak, that people then could start just pushing buttons and figuring out how to get sound and putting instrumentation together, and it was a remarkable thing. And that's what we have available to us now. So little by little we're getting all kinds of things to make it easier for creation. But in any event, that was the beginning stages for me
Yeah, yeah.
of really using my composition skills.
Great.
Yes.
Great. Amazing. Amazing. Honestly, it's so inspiring to speak with you. Like, I really love your
Thank you.
energy around all of what you are creating in the world.
Thank you.
And it's such a pleasure. So let me ask, what advice might you give to someone who is like the you of 10 years ago or the you of 15 years ago? Like, how does a person who is currently feeling stuck erupt into this kind of joyous creativity that you are living in now?
Okay, so my first bit of advice for anyone, whether you're creative or not, is to be open. That's what allowed me to say, okay, I'm going to let myself explore. I'm going to let myself do anything, and nothing is impossible. There's always a second, as they call, second chance in life. And there's always something else. If basically your mind is generally working, you can do anything. You can learn a new language. You can start the piano, at age 70 or whatever it is. And it's all doable because, especially if you had taken an instrument when you were young, it all is there. That's what's so remarkable, that whatever you learn then is still sitting there inside. And it's amazing that you can actually resume your lessons. I mean, you need a little time to kind of get things together, but you can continue on and not have all of those things that were there just disappear. They're there. So that's the first thing. But I think for me, the big lesson was to be open and to explore, to find the things that you never had time to learn before, and now you're going to do them because you were busy with too many other things in your life, a full-time job. And now you have this moment in your life that says, you know what? I never investigated that, or I never uh, took art lessons before. And, now is a perfect time for me to explore that. So I think it's all of the being open to something new and having that kind of personality and that kind of interest that you're allowing yourself to do that. And I think that's really the key part of it that I learned only, I don't know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And really that's what it's about. And just, I think for anyone. So
Amazing. Amazing. What a joy to speak with you, Sharon Ruchman. Is there, where do people follow you? Where would you like people to go
Oh,
to find
thank
more
you.
information?
Thank you. So, one of the things is I am on Spotify under Sharon Ruchman if you have an account. But if you don't, you can go to www.sharonruchman, SharonRuchman.com. And there you will see actually samplers of all my music on the different albums. And if you're interested in any of those or the album itself, you can click save to Spotify or save on Spotify. It will take you right to Spotify. And at least you can listen to some of those pieces without being a member. But
Great.
other than that, yes, and I have that website, and it offers to my great uncle's recording that he did in 1929 and all kinds of things about the group. So I think you'll get a host of information about who we are and the music that I'm doing now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks again.